noting and accepting that. And I'm referring to you to refrain from that.
Yeah, but don't say that's it to me. I'm not your little boy. I'll find out just now. And by the way, I have no problem with your matric certificate. For the purposes of whatever I'm going to ask you, I'll assume that it exists. But you see, the problem is that it's one of those issues. It's just a red herring. If we were not in a formal hearing, I would use a different description. It's really, I mean, just a deflection, maybe the most polite word. Because the point is, for now, let's assume you have a matric. The point was not whether you have a matric certificate or not. The point that the public protector, and you know this, was making was that somebody who only has a matric qualification under normal circumstances cannot be the commissioner of SARS. I mean, surely, I mean, I know you might be what somebody described as an organic intellectual, but under ordinary circumstances, surely you'd agree with me, Mr. Pillay, that I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's unusual. Would you agree?
I agree. It's unusual to have a president like the one we had, but we came from unusual circumstances.
Yes, no, that's true. In fact, there are three examples. It's the former president and you and Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng. But the other two got to where they were because of political connections. How did you get there?
Hard work.
Okay, so you are even better than the others, because I think even they would accept that their ascension, unusual ascension, was politically driven. Obviously, in the case of the president, but yours was just pure hard work.
Mr. Chair, I think I must point out here, I didn't appoint myself.
Yeah.
I think these are questions you should ask the people that appointed me.
Yeah.
And what I do know is that we went through tough assessments during our period in SARS.
Mm-hmm.
We had something called the goodness of fit, which all of us, except the then commissioner, underwent. And I have the results of that goodness of fit assessment. And it was the result of a 4.5 days of assessments that were conducted. I have the results, and the results are available. If you want to see it, I will send it to you.
No, I believe you. So, but I'm just saying that at least we've agreed that it's unusual. It's something quite remarkable. I mean, you know, taxation is a very complex subject. For you to rise to the top of our tax system in this sophisticated economy, armed with a matric certificate, is something remarkable. And I'm saying, I mean that. But I'm just saying that you would agree that it's not your usual occurrence, everyday occurrence.
Chair, I must point out again, these things happened after 1994.
No, even after 1994, I'm saying still unusual.
It's unusual, and I didn't enter SARS in a senior position. I entered in a mid-ranking position. I know somewhere it says chief of criminal investigations. I wasn't a chief. I was a general manager of criminal investigations, and I managed 300 people. And I worked in SARS for 15 years. So,
no, I'm sure there are many other matriculants who've worked there for 15 years or 20 years. I'm just saying they wouldn't rise up to becoming commissioner for SARS or acting commissioner for SARS.
Well, I think that there were circumstances to that. I didn't think I would be acting commissioner. I had no wish to be acting commissioner. And by the way, when I was made a deputy commissioner, my first action was to actually refuse it.
Yes. Okay. No, that's fine. So let's leave the acting issue. Let's deal with the permanent position. You would agree that it's still unusual to be deputy commissioner of SARS with those credentials?
It is.
Thank you. No, that's fine. Now, you and Mr. Gordhan have been friends for almost 50 years, correct?
I wouldn't say we are friends.
What would you say?
We were fellow activists in Durban before I went into exile. Mm-hmm. I really did not know him well. I only met him on a handful of occasions. Mm-hmm. I then met him in the underground after 1977. Mm-hmm. On a few occasions inside South Africa, and then on a few occasions outside South Africa when he came through illegally into Swaziland. So it is we got to know each other better in the underground. I still wouldn't say that we are friends; we were comrades.
Yeah. Well, friends can also be comrades, but that's fine. Let's. So you've just known him for all those years. You're saying you were involved in illegal activities
in the ANC underground.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So it was not the first time you were working clandestinely.
What are you referring to?
No, I mean now when you and him agreed to form the rogue unit, it was not the first time that you were involved in clandestine activities.
No, I do not agree with that. And the conclusion that the unit was unlawful is not founded in law and in fact.
Okay, that's fine. Then, Mr. Gordhan and you, let's just say you were whatever comrades involved, and you've known each other for more than 40 years, just to be rough about it. Correct?
Correct.
And your evidence is that apart from the hard work, all that had nothing to do with your meteoric rise in SARS to be deputy SARS commissioner.
I really don't think so. As I said to you when I was first told I'm in line for deputy commissioner, I did not, my inclination was not to accept it. And it's the reason why I've never stood in line to be commissioner.
Yes. No, I accept that, Mr. Pillay. I really do. I was asking you a different question. Yeah. I'm saying, are you telling this committee and South Africans that your decades-long relationship with Mr. Gordhan had absolutely nothing to do with your miraculous rising to becoming Deputy SARS Commissioner armed with a Matric certificate?
If you ask me, I would say I earned my place. We ran a world-class institution.
No,
and I'm not spinning words. By any measure of performance, we ran a world-class institution, and we cannot. If this is what happened, that people handed out in SARS senior positions to anybody who is not capable, SARS would not have performed at that level. It's impossible. It's impossible for performing organizations to be just appointing people that are not capable.
No.
It will show in the performance.
Yes. No, Mr. Pillay, I think we're talking at cross purposes. I have no doubt about your performance capabilities. I'm sure they are superlative. I also have no doubt about the performance of SARS at the time when you were there. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you whether you seriously say that anybody must believe that your miraculous rise to what you and I have agreed was unusual had nothing to do, whether you are capable or not is a separate matter, had nothing to do with your 40-year relationship with Mr. Gordhan. Yes or no?
Yeah, I would say that has nothing to do with it. And if anybody knows Mr. Gordhan,
I don't.
Yeah, the people that he drives the hardest are the people around him. And there's no easy road, there's no soft job that Mr. Gordhan gives to people.
Yeah, even that I'm prepared to accept.
So when there was an opening in SARS, I applied for it. I was assessed. I went for an assessment then. I was interviewed. I got the job. I wasn't even on the executive of SARS when I joined SARS in the first few years. And but that is my explanation.
No, Mr. Pillay, I accept that you are exceptional people. I mean, Mr. Gordhan was only a pharmacist as well, and you guys performed so well. Congratulations. But I'm simply saying to you, okay, I think you've heard what I've said. You haven't answered it. That's fine. Let's move on. Is it also your evidence that your so-called retirement had nothing to do with your relationship with Mr. Gordhan?
Yes, it has nothing to do with Mr. Gordhan.
I see. All right. So, but Mr. Gordhan, it is true that Mr. Gordhan, when this idea first saw the light of day, you wrote a memorandum, or rather a request to Mr. Symington, correct?
Correct.
That was in 2009. Correct?
It should be, yeah.
And it was forwarded to Mr. Gordhan in March 2009, correct?
Correct.
And in that memorandum, you were requesting what I refer to, as it is indicated in the judgment, you were requesting a package deal, for lack of a better word. In other words, that you should, quote unquote, retire, because we don't accept it as a retirement. Number one. Number two, that you should then be rehired immediately. And what was the third thing? That the SARS must pay for the money owed to the GEPF. That package, that's what you were requesting, correct?
Correct.
Right. Now, Mr. Gordhan was then told by Mr. Symington that that package was not a good idea if any element of it was not going to happen, you should withdraw the request, correct?
Correct. Well, I believe it was Mr. Symington who said to Mr. Gordhan, no, it's Mr. Symington who advised me that the three parts should go together, and if it wasn't agreed to, then I shouldn't proceed.
Yeah, okay. I don't think that's exactly how it happened, but that's nothing much turns on that. The point is that Mr. Symington's advice was that this scheme should only be can only be advised if it was going to go as a package deal. But if one element was missing, it should be withdrawn. In a nutshell.
Yes.
Yeah. And because you see, once again, the judges in your judgment said that I was wrong to refer to it as a package deal, but that's a story for another day. So what then happened is that Mr. Gordhan became a minister after the 2009 elections, correct?
Correct.
A few months after you had given him this request, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Mahashula became the commissioner for SARS, correct?
Correct.
And then Mr. Mahashula wrote the request for your so-called retirement to the Minister of Finance, who happened to be Mr. Gordhan.
Yes.
Right? Correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Gordhan considered this carefully and approved your so-called retirement, correct?
Correct.
Again, nothing to do. Pardon?
Retirement from the pension fund.
Just repeat that. I didn't get that. Just repeat that.
Sorry, Chair.
What I said is that I retired. My intention was to retire from the government pension fund.
Oh, I see.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so why did you write to SARS? I don't I'm sorry.
Just pause, Advocate Mpofu, Honorable Gordhan.
Sorry, while you were asking for clarity, I couldn't hear what that third part of the retirement package was.
Oh, okay.
Some funds, can we just have that clarified as well?
Yes, thank you, Honorable.
Just repeat, Mr. Pillay, again. In full.
Chair, I applied as part of that package to retire from the pension fund because I wanted to access my pension fund.
Sorry, just before that, Mr. Mpofu said that there were three components to the deal: retire, rehired immediately, and then SARS to pay something, and I couldn't hear what it was.
Yes. Yes. SARS to pay.
Advocate Mpofu or Mr. Pillay?
No, I can clarify it, Chair, if you don't mind.
Okay, please clarify it.
Thanks. Yes, Honorable Heron, this is very important. Yeah, it was what Mr. Pillay and I call a package. Yeah, had those two elements: retire, get the minister to agree for SARS to pay the penalty. There's a penalty if you retire before you reach the age 60. There's a penalty that is payable, and only with the approval of the minister that you fall under, in this case it would be Minister of Finance, can that approval be received for the employer to pay the penalty. So that was the second, or rather the third element, sorry. The second element, as I listed them, was that he would be rehired immediately. In other words, he would so-called retire, but be rehired immediately on a contract. Is that more or less it, Mr. Pillay?
Yes, it's on contract. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So, and just we'll come back to the sequence, but just so that Honorable Heron just has a complete picture, as it's actually happened. Your so-called retirement happened at midnight on the 31st of December 2010, correct?
Correct.
And you were rehired.
Just a pause, Advocate Mpofu, Advocate Bauer.
Just as a sorry, Advocate Mpofu, I'm not interrupting you.
Okay,
It's
no
discussed
problem.
at paragraphs. It's discussed at paragraphs 124 onwards. This package of the judgment.
Yes. Well,
Okay, proceed, Advocate Mpofu. Thank you.
thank you. Except the judgment didn't said it was not a package or rather something like that. But that's fine. Yeah, that's true. What I was just saying, as a matter of fact, just to complete the picture for the honourable member and other members, the retirement so-called happened at midnight on the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, 31st December 2010, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Pillay?
Correct.
Yes. And you were rehired a minute later, 1 minute later, just as we were celebrating New Year's, 1 minute after 12 on New Year's Day, the 1st of January 2011, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was the nature of the scheme. I call it a Ponzi scheme, yeah, but you might have a different word there.
Well, Chair, through the Chair, I should point out that all of these matters came before the courts, and the courts have applied themselves to it.
Yeah,
And
the court said it was okay.
the court said it was okay.
Yeah, I know. I was there. Yeah. Okay. But be that as it may, the committee will have to make its own mind on it. Yeah. Because you have raised it. I was saying it's not relevant. Yeah, but Ms. Power says it is. Yeah. So the scheme then, so effectively, the third element of the scheme is really what the public protector was worried about, namely that Minister Gordhan then approved that SARS must pay 1.1 million of the penalties to complete this scheme, correct?
Correct. I would prefer the package. It wasn't a scheme.
Yes. No, sorry. When I say scheme, I don't mean it negatively. Yeah, let's say package. Yeah. Without that approval by Mr. Gordhan, the package would have fallen flat, correct?
I believe they would have fallen flat, and then there were other options, which would have.
Well, okay. And you said at some stage, or rather, when you were rehired in the same position of Deputy SARS Commissioner, correct?
In the role of Deputy Commissioner.
SARS, yes.
But I didn't have the same duties any longer that I had.
Yeah, but
prior.
you had the same title and the same money, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And yet, you were, well, maybe let me ask you, because there are so many versions of this. What was the reason for you to be so lucky to get this package? By the way, do you know that there's no other South African human being has ever received such a package?
Chair, through you, I was told that 2,000 South Africans also accessed such. This matter has gone all the way. It's gone to the Constitutional Court, and the court has accepted that. The next thing I want to point out is that Commissioner Magashula pointed out, and I pointed out in my affidavit, that in the ordinary course of events over the next few years, SARS would have saved money. Because SARS would no longer be contributing on a monthly basis to my pension. So that was submitted in an affidavit on the 21st of May, 2019. But of course, it was never responded to. And I don't think Mr. Magashula's affidavit in this respect was also responded to.
Yes. No. Okay. Be that as it may, I was asking you, what was the reason? Well, you say you don't know that. You think there are thousands of people who received a similar package?
Yes. We were told at the time when Commissioner Magashula discussed with the relevant public administration official that there were about 2,000 people who accessed
Such a thing. Yes. Actually, I think the number was 3,000. Yeah. It was said about 3,000, but it's a lie. There's no such thing. But anyway, we'll come to that. Yeah.
My reason.
So there were about sorry.
No, I was saying, Chair, Mr. Pillay was saying they were told at the time that there were about 2,000. I'm saying the actual number that they had was 3,000.
3,000.
Yes.
Okay.
But I was just saying that was just a phantom number. There's no other human being in this country who has ever received the package that Mr. Pillay, and I'll demonstrate it just now. Yeah. All right, Mr. Pillay, sorry. You in your affidavit, you cited 4 examples, not 3,000, correct? Including my old friend, Mr. Geert Stevens.
I cited 4 examples from within SARS.
From within SARS?
Within SARS, all of them within SARS, of people who retired and were rehired.
Yeah, you see, that's where the misrepresentation was. So those people were retired and rehired, correct?
Correct. 1 minute past midnight. Yes.
No, that's exactly the point. Some of them had to be recalled when there was a shortage. Not they didn't retire and get rehired within 1 minute.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, I'm sure.
I think
Okay, but if I'm right, then you'd understand that those 4 examples should be thrown out of the window. In other words, it should not be comparing like for like.
Well, what you're saying is that it would be okay if I pretended to be out of work for 3 months and then I was rehired.
Is that what you are accusing those people of doing?
No. That's what you're saying.
No. When did I say that? Maybe I forgot. I just, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying those people were genuine, unlike you. They might have retired. Yes, you are right there. And then maybe 6 months later or a year later, SARS realizes that they might need their skills. They approach them and they negotiate a contract. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying none of them were the 1 minute specials like you. You are the only South African who has ever achieved such a feat.
Well,
and it probably will be for the next thousands of years. I don't think it will ever be allowed again, that kind of Ponzi scheme.
No, that's not a scheme, Mr. Chair. I object to that. The matter has gone all the way to the Constitutional Court, and the public protector has failed to prove otherwise.
Okay, objection is noted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, sorry for the scheme. Yeah. No, you cited in your affidavit, operator, if you can bring it up, it's
From the pension fund, then one retired from SARS, one had to be rehired on contract. That is the rules.
I see. So it was a double retirement.
This was not a subterfuge. And by the way, this was well known in SARS. There was no attempt to keep any of this under wraps and to make it out to be a particular scheme. And I point out again that the matter has gone to court, has gone right to the Constitutional Court.
And the court says it's fine.
The court said you have not provided evidence to them to make a different view. They took a view. They took they made a judgment on what was placed before them.
Yes, Mr. Pillay. So what are you doing here? You came here knowing that there was a judgment on the matter. You came here to assist this committee to deal with this matter, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. All right. So you agree that Mr. Van Heerden was not a 1 minute special like you?
No, I resent that. Chair, I'd ask for your intervention.
Okay, I'll rephrase.
It's being insulting, and I don't think you should be allowed to do that.
1 minute is an insult. Did you retire at...
Your intention is to insult me.
No, Mr. Pillay. You are
Advocate Mpofu. Advocate Mpofu, you were just giving a suggestion of rephrasing that. You can achieve the same thing with the rephrasing without. Thank you.
Mr. Pillay, you're the one who gives gratuitous insults according to the court, and that's why you were marked with attorney-client costs. But we'll come to that later. So, okay, let's go. I'm rephrasing. You agree that Mr. Van Heerden there was a period of more than 1 minute between him retiring and him being called back, correct?
I cannot remember that. You can tell me what was the period.
Is it possible that it was more than 1 minute?
I don't know.
All right. The next one was Mr. John Hansen. Remember him?
Yes, I remember Mr. Hansen.
He retired 31st December 1998 and was rehired 6 October 1999, almost a year later, not a minute later. Correct?
Correct. Chair, I think the Advocate Dali has made his point.
Yeah.
Whatever the point he wants to make.
No, fair enough. Okay, no, then we won't waste the time of the committee. The point I'm simply making is that the 4 examples, you even included Mr. Moyane, the 5 examples that you've given were not comparing like for like. And I think that's the point you're saying I've made, so we can move on, correct?
But, Mr. Chair, is my affidavit here on trial? Is there an untruth that is there?
No, the untruth is what you've just told this committee, which is to say that these 4 people were comparable to your situation. No. So I'm trying to unpack that untruth.
No.
And the court said it was fine, but I'm saying the committee will make up its own mind. That's the only untruth we're dealing with for now.
No, it's just...
Pardon?
So Mr. Gert Stevens was rehired. Just go up to Mr. Gert Stevens.
Yeah.
Go to Mr. Gert Stevens again.
Yeah, 25.6.4, yeah. He was rehired on the 1st of April 2003, having retired on the 31st March. Yeah.
Yes, what is that?
It's a 1 minute special.
So how am I unique?
Okay, that's fine. So you agree that the others don't, the only one that is like you is Mr. Gert Stevens?
No, Mr. Chair, I don't know from the thousands of people who work in public administration in South Africa how many similar cases there were. We were told there were about 3,000. We asked for the records. We could never get the records.
No,
So I cannot pronounce on whether I am unique or not. I made a request. I did not approve this request myself.
Yes. No,
Mr. Opa Magashula made a recommendation.
Yes. Mr.
Gordhan took his time. He finally approved that, and that is where I stand on the matter.
Okay. No, let me assist you. I'll even be on your side. Look at Mr. Kosi Low. Well, because they say, in pension law, there might be a saving that happens because the markets go a particular way or whatever. And that's not what I'm not discussing that. We'll come to that if you want to. I'm simply saying that the scheme at that time, or rather the package, cost SARS and the taxpayer 1.1 million rand. Agreed?
Agree, and this arrangement saved SARS money over the next few years.
Okay, so, well, I'm sure that thousands of South Africans would like to save SARS by getting a 1.1 million rand windfall. We'll come to that. Let's do it step by step here. I would like to save SARS as well, if they can give me 1.1 million rand and a monthly pension payout on top of it. Yeah.
This is badgering. I've answered the question.
Sorry, what did you say to me?
This is badgering.
I'm badgering you.
Yes.
How did I do that?
You're on the same thing over and over. I say, yes, there is a package. Yes, the penalty was paid. Yes, I retired from the pension fund. Yes, I was rehired on the day after. I say, I didn't approve these things for myself. Right. You want to say it's a scheme? You say it's a scheme?
No, if I said that, I apologize. I'm not saying that.
That's fine, Mr. Pillay. That's fine, Mr. Pillay. Can we now proceed, Advocate Mpofu?
Okay. No, Mr. Pillay, I'm not badgering you, sir. I'm busy trying to cross-examine you. You volunteered to